friends, and thanks for joining me again. And I got a question for you. Are memberships worth it? So let's go with the first, probably most common membership, and that would be gym memberships. Having a gym membership or just exercising in general can be great for your health, and then having a gym membership and paying that monthly fee can kind of trick us into going. It can kind of guilt us into making sure we're going to make sure we're getting our money's worth, essentially. So having a gym membership may not always be a bad thing. I have a gym membership and I go with my mom, so the both of us, we're on the same account, is $23 a month for 2 people. And I feel like that's a pretty good deal. So we definitely justify the cost. We go fairly regularly to make sure that we're getting our money's worth. And we go to a frugal gym, which makes a difference too. However, we have some other gyms in the area that we could go on a daily pass kind of way. So you can buy like punch cards and then go that way. Or you could just go in and pay each time you use it. And so what we constantly do, or at least I do, I make sure that our schedule isn't going to change in such a way that we can't go as regularly as we are. And if we do end up having that happen, we stop going as regularly, something comes up, to where we're not. If it's for a short time, if someone's sick or something, we're not going to instantly, cancel our membership. But we do need to make sure that the schedule isn't changing in a way that's going to make it, to where we can't continue to go. So I'm constantly kind of comparing the prices on how much, we use it and how many times a week we go versus how much it would cost us if we were to have bought that daily pass each time for a different gym. And so far there has been savings, so we keep it. The next one would be some online memberships. This is going to be stuff like Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu. And quite honestly, I think a lot of these, when you're using them in place of cable, can be a huge savings. So instead of paying $100, $120 a month, for cable services, to go with Netflix for like $8 a month is obviously a huge savings. So if it can replace the TV service that you're subscribing to, this may definitely be worth it. However, like many things, there is an end to it. So once we've seen all that we want to see, it certainly wouldn't be worth keeping it, especially if they're not gaining anything new. So we have a couple of these type services, Amazon Prime mainly. So we just make sure that we're always looking into it to make sure that we are using it enough, with our shipping and for our TV services, that it's always paying for itself. Another positive to having these sort of online services would be that you don't have as much clutter because instead of having to buy all these movies, sometimes we can just kind of watch them online and, stream them that way. And so, yeah, just as a bonus there, it does make for a little bit more of a clutter-free life. So auto type memberships, something like AAA. So AAA offers, obviously roadside assistance and towing and things like that, but being a AAA member can also offer things like business discounts to different amusement parks, hotels, museums, restaurants, aquariums, fitness centers. They have all sorts of different discounts. And so this one, I do have, a few friends that have this, membership AAA, and they really enjoy it. They feel like it, makes a big difference. But like everything, we do need to make sure that we are using them enough that it is worth the cost, because it can very easily add up to where we're paying this amount month after month after month, but we're not using any of the extra perks. And then by the time we end up using it, say for a tow, it's the same price as if we would have just paid for the tow. So definitely keep that in mind. Club memberships. So this is going to be stuff like Costco, Sam's, a lot of these sort of bulk food warehouse type memberships. Now, it's no surprise that bulk food can be cheaper, but we do have to keep in mind that we have to use up that bulk food in order for it to have been a savings. So if we would normally buy, say, a 1-pound block of cheese and use that in a week, but then we go to a bulk store and buy a big 5-pound block, but when you're 2/3, 3/4 of the way through it, the rest of it goes bad because we didn't use it fast enough, then there may not be any savings at all from having done that. So we definitely have to make sure that we have the family size to support these sorts of bulk stores, and that we are buying things that we like, because if we buy a box of crackers or something like that from the grocery store, and we don't end up liking them, maybe $2 was wasted. However, if we go to a bulk store and we buy a case of these same crackers and we don't end up liking them, it could be $6 or $8 that are wasted. So definitely I like to make sure that I'm testing out the things that we're buying, especially when it comes to new things, first before we go and buy a massive amount of them. Another thing we can do with the stuff to keep it from going bad is to freeze it though. That is a good way to make sure. So sometimes, like the cheese example, even us with, our family, which is actually a fairly small family, and we'll buy, say, a bulk thing of a certain type of cheese that we only use, on occasions, like mozzarella or something like that. And then I will put half in the fridge and then half in the freezer to make sure it doesn't go bad. So definitely utilize your freezer when it comes to those bulk items if you don't feel like you can use it, quickly enough. Another thing is, I really do feel like we have to use this membership frequently enough that it pays for itself. So if we get a club membership, but then we only go maybe once a month, it may not be a savings at all. So if we pay, say, $35, but we only buy a few things and we only go infrequently, when you add up the savings that you would have gotten from those bulk things, it may not be the same. So definitely just keep this in mind. We have to make sure that we're going, often enough or buying, in bulk enough that it makes it worth it. The next would be like transportation type memberships or passes. So sometimes instead of, going per trip on the bus, you can buy, an unlimited type, pass. And definitely this is, again, one of those things where sometimes at the time when we buy it, it works out, but then later on, things change and maybe we don't end up using that as much as we thought we would. And so there ends up not being a savings at all. So again, we just have to constantly be comparing how much, the lower amount would be, say, the regular grocery store, the regular daily passes, or, the bulk things where we get the discount instead. So I guess the moral of the story would be, just because something worked for us in the past may not mean that it continues to work for us now. And what works for us now may not be what works for us in 3, 6, or 12 months. So we kind of need to be constantly reevaluating things, rechecking to make sure that they are truly worth, our money, and these memberships are actually saving us the money that we're hoping they will, and not just costing us money under the guise of saving money. And definitely, hopefully, don't assume that just because something is in bulk or unlimited that it's automatically a better deal. We do have to make sure that we're utilizing them in order for them to really be paying for themselves. Or even better yet, saving us money. So if you joined a health club or some other thing, say at the beginning of the year, and the only thing you're losing is $30 a month, it may be time to cut it loose. So don't worry about it, don't feel bad about it. Things change, life changes, and there's no big deal when it comes to, having to cancel things that we find aren't really working for us after all. It just happens, it does. So anyway, hopefully this video was helpful to you. I'm Frugal Green Girl, and we'll see you next time.